Hello and welcome to another Expats Portugal webinar where we'll be discussing money transfers to and from Portugal and things that you need to be aware of and how to get the best deal. My name is Astrid. I'm one of the directors here at Expats Portugal. Thank you for all of our premium members and club members who have joined us tonight. And hello to our YouTube audience as well. Feel free to jump on board and ask your questions in the chat at any time during the show. And then you can also contact me at my email address below if you've got any further details. But for now, we can start the show. Over to you, Carl.
Thank you very much. So everything to do with transferring money to and from Portugal as well, because of course our special guest from Spartan FX can do that tonight. The whole firm can do that. Here from Spartan FX is Ben Amrani. How are you, Ben? Good to see you.
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, really good. Nice to see you all again, and all of our listeners. Yeah, I'm very good. We've had a very busy. It's been a very busy month. There's been a lot happening in the currency market, so it's one of those industries which it's relentless. There's something always happening. I call it like the never-ending story. It's like there's always something happening that drives the rates. And to be frank, actually, we prefer it when there's lots of market movement, because when the exchange rates are a bit flat, it's a bit boring, really. So when there's lots of things happening, there's more to talk about, and yeah, it's good. And my clients as well have a lot to talk about when there's lots of movement. So it's good.
I think a few of your fan club will be here tonight. You're a very popular fellow because people love to talk to you. And that's one of the wonderful things that we'll get around to when we're talking about Spartan FX tonight, is the personal relationship you can have with somebody who can help you with currency. A very personable and a one-to-one approach to doing currency exchange. We'll get around to that because as you mentioned there, full moon coming up, and massive big news is how good it is for dollar holders to buy euros this week. So what a week. Tell us about that, if you will.
Yeah, I mean the last couple of weeks really, we've started to see a big surge for the dollar again. I think it's certainly best levels probably this year. I think we're talking like 9-10 month highs for the dollar again. It's kind of a lot of it is attributed to the interest rates in America. I mean, it's the same globally at the moment. A lot of currencies are very data dependent. And what I mean by that is, the markets are scrutinizing every bit of economic data, which enables them to have an idea as to how a central bank might act, whether they'll hike interest rates, keep them on hold, or start to cut them. And recently, the consensus was over the last 2, 3, 4 months that as you get towards the back end of this year, the Fed will start to cut interest rates. Well, the stance has completely changed. It's kind of higher rates for longer, and that has just helped the dollar really to start to strengthen again. I think we're in maybe a new world now where starting to see interest rates cut by 2-3% is probably quite a way off. We're probably going to have to get used to these higher rates for longer. So for some, certainly for dollar holders, it's great because you've seen that big surge again in the strengthening of the dollar. I often say it's like good news for the dollar is bad for other parts of the economy who really wants like really high interest rates. It's not good for companies. It's not good for individuals. I heard somewhere in America like a 30-year mortgage, maybe like 7.5%. I mean, it's not what we've been used to over the last 15, 20 years or so. So we're all going to have to get used to that. But from the dollar's point of view, you're up at a 9-month high. So we've been inundated with clients, certainly on the other side of the pond to us, contacting us again, capitalizing on the strengthening of the exchange rate, and been moving a lot of funds back over to Portugal and Europe, really.
Amazing. Okay. And we'll see how that can actually affect people, you know, on a personal basis in just a moment. Because some people might be thinking, I don't know, you know, does it really matter that much? But I think it can be very significant for people when they're budgeting for moving to Portugal. Before you answer that, Ben, let's just say a few hellos. JLM, you sent us quite a long message about a situation you've got with your bank. Do you want us to share that in this webinar, or do you want us to save that for later? People on this call get a chance to chat with Ben after we finish the recording. It's another good reason to become a premium member, Expats Portugal. Steve's here from Minnesota, David from Charlotte, and Ed and Sharon from Canada. Laurie, a couple of Lauries here tonight, one in Tacoma. Good evening to you. And Alaa from Lisbon. Good to see someone in Lisbon tuning in tonight. Berkshire in the UK as well. That's Robert. I believe over there. Grace is here as well in Seattle. So thank you everybody for saying good evening from wherever you are. Keep those messages coming in the chat, and any questions, of course, about changing your, well, whatever your currency is into euros over here for use in Portugal. Yeah. So how dramatically then the question is, Ben, can exchange rates affect people's budgets with these 9 or 10 months?
It can be massive, really. I mean, if you think about, obviously, obviously everyone's got completely different finances. We help clients that move $50,000, $100,000, and other clients are moving, you know, significant sums up into the millions. So if you consider, and no one's got a crystal ball, so you can't. As I said, it's a never-ending story with exchange rates. So from one week you think the rates are going to head in one direction, then all of a sudden certain things happen within the world that, you know, the global economy, and it can change the situation quite quickly. But if we go back just you know, over the last 2-3 months, at some stages the exchange rate was down at like 1.12 or 0.89, and then it's like come back to like 1.05, 1.06, which is like 0.94, and you're talking a difference of like 5% roughly. So, you know, someone who's moving, when you're talking hundreds of thousands, even tens of thousands, it has a big impact on the amount that you achieve. Now, some clients have to do it by a specific date, so you not everyone has the time to sit and wait, and they just have to get the exchange done. But if you're planning on, you know, that you're planning on moving over to Portugal in the next 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you do have certain funds available, it's not a bad idea to either hedge your position, so buy a proportion of the currency that you need. A lot of clients have euro accounts, so they can move some funds into it. It's when the exchange rate is up, it's something that we do recommend. I mean, if you go back to last year when, you know, the war broke out, and you had the dollar was going from strength to strength with the Fed hiking interest rates really, you know, aggressively, in the first economy to do so, the exchange rate went below parity. We spoke to lots of clients that had funds, and we said, look, it's not a bad time to do it. The likelihood of it getting back to the very best levels we had is quite slim. Yeah. Some did it, others haven't. And then we had others that were converting them when we spoke to them. They were converting recently, you know, over the last 5-6 months when the exchange rate was up at 110, 111. They're like, oh, I wish I'd have done it when it was below parity. But it's hindsight. We never say to anyone, you should have done it. You know, it's everyone's circumstances are different, but the trying to budget is quite important. And if you have, certainly if you budgeted last year and then you saw where the rates were at times this year, you can be talking a 10 to 15% difference, which is a lot of money when you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we always say, like, now, if you know you're moving over the next, you know, 6 months or a year, and you've seen the rates at a certain high point, like a 9-month, 10-month high, it's worth securing some of your euros. At least you know you've got some at a high point. We're not saying put all of your funds into it, but then you can your next exchange, hopefully the exchange rate is better, which is what you still want. You want the rate to still strengthen, so you still get more for your funds at a later date. But if the exchange rate has gone the wrong way, by the time you need it, at least you've secured a proportion of your funds at a better level, and it just increases your overall average rate, I suppose, by the time you need to do it. And it gives you a bit more security.
Excellent stuff. And we've got a question from Steve, which is connected to this. Curious to learn about locking in an exchange rate now or soon for a future purchase. And for Steve and those other people thinking, oh, this isn't fair. The rate's great and I can't afford to buy all my euros now. You can do a forward contract, right?
You can do a forward contract. It's a really good tool where if you don't have the full amount of funds available currently, you can put 10% down. You can agree a date with us in the future on when you would settle your funds. In essence, you can go around a year into the future. It's something I recommend for clients when they know that they will 100% get the funds. It's not something that is right for everyone. If your funds are tied up in real estate, you have to sell it, and you don't know if you will 100% sell the property, it would put some pressure on you because in essence, you're really meant to try and settle the contract by that agreed date in the future. But if you know you're definitely going to have funds available, it's a really good tool. We've had lots of clients recently with the high yields in America and the returns they're getting on their savings or investments. Some are leaving funds in there, still tying up their currency exchange, so they're earning the interest in their savings account and still securing the currency. So there are definitely plus points to doing a forward contract if you don't have all the funds available or you don't want to liquidate all of your assets straight away.
All right. And you can buy euros in advance of when you need them at the good rates, and that you will hold those euros for people if they don't have a euro account. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's agreed at a rate. So it's all locked in at that. And if you haven't got your own bank account set up, you can use our facility where we can store your euros for you until you've got your account set up. If you were buying a property, for instance, and you didn't have your own account, you wanted us to send funds to lawyers, the sellers of properties, we can handle all of that for you too.
Right, brilliant. Okay, there you go, Steve. That should have answered your question. If not, or if anyone else has a question or needs further clarification, do ask the questions. It's fine. If something isn't clear to you, that's what we're here for tonight, to make it clear. And I should reiterate, as Ben did, this is not Spartan FX telling you what to do. It's not financial advice. They'll show you what the options are, and it's up to people to be responsible for making their own decisions with this. But you do have some great options, right, Ben?
Yeah, there's always options available, and it's the one thing where our personal service is good. You're not kind of left to your own devices. We'll explain the pros and cons of any type of exchange that you need to do. If we understand more about someone's specific circumstances, we can give the recommendation as to or the options as to what we think might be suitable, and ultimately it's down to them to make the decision what's best for them.
Great. So you can have the call, go through the options, and then they'll make their own decision at the end of that process. But how great to have someone available to lay those options out for you. Steve coming back to us with very helpful thanks. And pushing his luck a little bit possibly here, Ben, do you earn interest on the 10% held by Spartan?
Unfortunately, no. So
Nice try, Steve.
Yeah, unfortunately, all the accounts that we have they're like client accounts, kind of escrow accounts, but based in the UK. They're non-interest bearing, unfortunately. So we'll always say to a client, if you have your own bank account, you don't need to leave your funds sitting with us for weeks or months on end. We can move them. You can earn interest from your own bank. Having said that, we still get lots of clients that store funds with us because, to be frank, they find it easier to give us instructions to move money to pay utility bills, pay for a property, buying a car, than actually dealing with their own bank. It's just far simpler.
So you'll hold the money and you'll manage transfers from that account as well. That's handy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Good. Okay, good stuff. And Steve, yeah, got to ask. Don't blame me for asking at all there, Steve, but there's your answer. You're not going to get those held funds there, and a thumbs up from you. So thank you for that very important question. Ben, how should we go head to head with the banks? Should we have a little bit of argy-bargy with the banks now?
Yeah, we can too. I mean, our nemesis, the banks. It's look. Everyone's got to have a bank account, right? So everyone's got one. Everyone stores their funds there. But when it comes to international transfers, it's not what they specialize in. So they deal with a whole range of different sectors within the bank. You know, I kind of say they're like a jack of all trades, master of none, really. And when it comes to moving funds from America, especially America, the bank systems are quite outdated. Look at a bank like Wells Fargo. They're really a domestic bank. They're not geared up for international transfers. We see clients' funds if a client uses them to make a payment, we've seen it take days, a week for funds to arrive, sometimes longer. They don't always get their head around all of the compliance, what a client is doing. And bear in mind, in America, it's such a massive country. I've had clients go into branches of all different banks, and the cashier behind there who they're dealing with has never made an international transfer in their life. They look at you like an international wire, like what is it? Like, so I've been on the phone with clients where they've put me on the phone to someone at the bank and I'm having to tell them how to do it, which is just beyond belief. Like, so it happens regularly. So we will always recommend that there are some good banks out there that can help you move funds to us. I think the issue clients have is many of the banks move in dollars. So if you use our service, you have to move dollars to us to convert to euros. So you send dollars to your account with us. They can move dollars to us. I find clients get into problems sometimes when they ask the bank to do a conversion, move it overseas, and that's where the holdup takes. So they don't always have the euros. It can take them a couple of days to get it. By the time they then make the wire and it arrives over in Europe, you can be talking another 2 or 3 days. So in essence, a whole week's gone from the time you actually buy your currency to receive it. When the banks send dollars to us, it can arrive as quick as 2 hours with some banks, as an average 24 hours. And then once we've got it, we can have it in Portugal from when we make the payment. We have tracking on our system. Sometimes we see it arrives in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Other times it might take 24 hours, just depending on, certain factors, time of day that it's sent, or, certainly if there's a weekend involved, things like that. But in essence, it's a lot quicker for us to move it over. And again, when things go wrong with the bank, just in America, you try and get some information out of them as to where the funds are, what's happened. They're not always up to speed with what they're even looking for, where we have everything at our fingertips straight away.
More confidence, less stress. Apparently they're called Hells Fargo. We couldn't possibly comment, but that is that's coming from somebody in our chat. Thank you very much for that. And, on a serious note, in terms of stress and confidence, if you do go into your bank in America and say, look, I'm buying a house in Portugal, it might be 250,000, it might be a lot more, and they say to you, I don't know how to do that. That's not going to be great from the get-go, is it? To know that amount of money is going to be transferred and they don't really know what they're doing. Yeah. And then if it disappears for days on end as well, that's going to be a really stressful experience.
Well, it can be. If it doesn't turn up when you're expecting it, it can. Look, I have clients where the banks send dollars to us because, like I said, everyone's got a bank. So you have to use the bank somewhere. Yeah. And I get some clients where the bank have made the wire and they're on the phone to me literally 30 seconds later. Is it there? Is it there? So it's not that quick. But normally within 2 hours to 24 hours, we see the funds arrive. So, but if you're up against it time-wise and you're leaving it near the end of your closing date, you've asked the bank to move the funds, and it's like the money's just not turning up, that's when it gets very stressful.
All right, there you go. So
that's the other thing. We always say plan in advance. Do not leave your transfer wire to the last minute, because we've seen a lot of horror stories.
Well, let's deal with that now then. We'll come back to the banks and Wise as well, and other such services. And I think, to be fair, you made the great point that it's the right tool for the right job, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you want to, do certain things with banks, right? Sometimes the card-based currency changes are okay. But what we're sharing with you tonight is you get a different level of service with Spartan FX. Yes, this matter of opening an account, not leaving it too late. What does it cost, and what's the minimum amount people need to have a Spartan FX account, Ben? So
you can open up an account with nothing, whether you use it once, never use it. It's free to open. It bears no obligation. So once your account's open, you can choose to use it as little or as many times as you need. So some clients will use this just for a one-off transfer. Others will have relationships for years with them. We help them on a monthly basis. We tend to say, in terms of like a minimum trade amount, for us to be competitive, about $3,000 as an average. If you're doing, a few $100s here and there, it's not something that we can be that geared up for, just because we can't offer you the best exchange rates that we can on those very small volumes. So we try to say, for us to be competitive, $3,000 really is upwards ideally. It's very, very straightforward to set up. Just on our website, there's a form, you fill it in. Within sometimes a few hours, the account is open. We provide you with all the bank details you need, but we don't leave you to your own devices. We try and do everything with you on the phone. If, like I say, if we speak to you from a KYC perspective, knowing your client, we know exactly what you're needing to do. We can help you. We can explain all the options available to you. Unlike, certain companies like Wise, you register, you're online yourself. There's no one there to help you, guide you through it. So it is different. Some clients like that. Others prefer the personal approach.
Yeah, and that company and others like it might be better for the little transactions you're talking about and the convenience of having a card. No question, right?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very, very much so. But if you want a service where, certainly if you were making payments to third parties, so sending money to a lawyer, a seller of a property, or whatever it is that you're buying, having someone on the end of the phone where we can, provide all the documentation you need. Many lawyers want the proof of payments. We send it to them. I mean, we go a lot further that some of our clients aren't even aware of. The amount of our clients that will say, oh, I need to send money here. Here's the bank details. Please send it. They've never called the lawyer. They've never called the real estate agent to verify the bank details. Still today that happens. So we take the liberty. We call the lawyers. We call the agents. I've even spoken to sellers of properties just to confirm the bank details, because we don't want a horror story where someone's, email's been hacked and they've sent someone the wrong bank details. So we'll always try and we'll always speak to everyone before any payment goes out, certainly for a first payment. And you won't get that with a Wise or a similar thing. If you just go online, put the bank details in, it's gone, your money's gone.
Right. And and it becomes very difficult, doesn't it, to have any kind of
stressful. Yeah. So
I mean, I've noticed this myself in the past. We just need you to take a selfie, and then we need the front of your driving license and the back of your driving license. And they can, when it gets difficult, it is really stressful and difficult.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you can fall the wrong side of their compliance. And I think there are some instances on it where it just shut you down if they don't like what their algorithms are looking at. You might not be doing anything wrong, but sometimes people are having those accounts closed, aren't they? So another
I mean, I don't know the ins and outs as to obviously I don't work there. I don't know the ins and outs of why people's accounts get closed, but you just have to look online, the reviews, there's lots of accounts that get closed. We see it day in, day out where clients have used them, money's not sent, payments are held, people miss certain dates that they need money in all different countries for, and it gets very stressful. And I think the main difference is when we're speaking with our clients, we get the information we need at an early stage. I think with Wise, and again, look, I don't work there, I've never used them, but I would assume you can probably register by currency and try and send it straight away. It will probably work for smaller volumes. But as soon as you've done a big amount, you're sending it to a third party. They want X, Y, and Z as to what you're doing. And, you can provide the info to them. How quickly do they answer it? They're dealing with hundreds of thousands of people. So I don't think it's something they turn it around that quickly. And this is just from the experience that we hear from our customers who come to us after.
Yeah, they have their uses, but right tool for the job seems to be the theme that we're exploring.
I would imagine that the majority of people that are using Wise are probably people that are moving like $100 to a family member in Bolivia or India and things like that. That's a lot of people will use it for that, for much smaller transfers. If you were going to use them to move a few $100,000 to buy a property and send it to a seller for property, personally, I would think twice for me.
Yeah, and they're going to be buying their meal with their Wise card, aren't they, in euros? Yeah. And that's not a part of the market you're interested in.
No.
You do shock your clients from time to time, though. Warren here is saying, we recently signed up with Spartan FX. I was shocked when I got a phone call and email contact. So he wasn't expecting that.
Well, this is, do you know what? This is what we get day in, day out. People are like, oh, I wasn't expecting a call. It's like, well, this is what we're geared up for. Like we have to speak to people, we introduce ourselves, we explain what we do, and then they actually understand what our customers understand, how it works and what they're doing. Some clients we go back and forth over emails a few times, but the majority we will try and call, introduce ourselves, and I think it gives our clients it makes them feel a lot of security knowing that there's someone at the end of the phone. And our numbers on our website, a lot of clients have our cell numbers. They can call us anytime, and we're there to try and help with anything they need.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for that comment, Warren. When we got our Portuguese bank account, it cost us almost 1,000 Canadian dollars. That was just to go to the consulate city and stay overnight, plus get our documents and notarized to the bank standards by the Portuguese consulate. Spartan FX was no cost and under a day. So a fantastic testimonial from Mr. Shalm there in Canada. Okay, let's have a look at a few of these sort of anecdotes and customer experiences. And, some of the things people must say to you on a fairly regular basis, and you decode these for us. Banks tell their clients there are no fees. They're going to get you a different way, aren't they?
Well, it's the first thing they say. There's no fees to move money overseas, but their exchange rates can be 4 or 5% from the market with some of them. So that's where they will tend to make their money. I mean, we've had going both ways. So we also get a lot of clients that will sell in Europe and move money back to America, and we've seen numerous times like euros going into a dollar account. That can be even worse. You can be talking 10-12% from the market because you're putting the wrong currency into the wrong currency account. So if euros are just sent in euros to a dollar account, the banks will try and have a field day, really. So it's not a good way of doing it. So yeah, they'll always say there's no fees, nothing can be, but they make the money on the conversion rates. They'll still have some wire fees, but they don't really discuss that much. So there's no fees, and this is the amount that you're getting for your dollars. And there's a lot of clients that before they're aware of how it works will just say, well, if that's the amount I get, that's what I get. Okay, send it. I think
what choice do they have? That's the thing, isn't it? I remember the days when I used to get an Australian dollar check from time to time, and you just have to hand it over and hope.
There's nothing you can. Yeah, well, this is the thing. If you have a foreign check, there's very little you can do, unless you're going to go to the. It depends how often you're getting it, but unless you're going to go to specifically open a foreign currency account with your bank, there's not much you can do other than get them to bank that check and take their awful exchange rate.
Nobody has checks anymore, do they? Anyway, I'm sure you can help people avoid that scenario.
I don't know. You'd be amazed in Spain. They love to give a seller of a property a check still. Yeah.
A bit more of a delay. Okay. All right. Great question from Jackie. Our money is in a SWAB IRA. I love that name. Right now, and I'm not sure all their customers love that name. Right now, we move money from US SWAB to Millennium in Portugal. What is the exact mechanism for moving money from SWAB account to Spartan? I think you've got a bit of personal experience of working with SWAB, haven't you?
Well, SWAB are actually great in the sense of they have, put it this way, when we speak to clients well in advance, and there's so many banks in America, lots of credit unions, a lot of them don't make international wires. If we understand who they bank with, we'll often say to them, look, while you're in the States, open up a SWAB account. You can have funds in there, you can move it to a brokerage account, but for them to make a wire to our clients' accounts with us, they typically arrive in 2 hours. So it's that quick. You can be anywhere in the world. There might be like a verification code you get to your phone or whatever their two-factor authorization is, but in essence, you can be anywhere in the world. You can log into your account within 2 hours from making a payment. The funds typically arrive with us, and then we can do whatever.
It's quite a good arrangement to be with SWAB then.
We think it's really good. Yeah, out of the majority of the banks out there, and especially like the investment, if you want to put money in an investment side as well, SWAB do cater for a lot of things, but the ease of moving money, they've got it pretty spot on. So, you go to certain banks in America and you're in Portugal, they want you to go in the branch still. Certain banks will have a limit of a very small amount per day. We've had numerous clients in Portugal, all over Europe, that have had to fly back to America to access their funds, because the bank got a 25k a day limit, and it's going to take them, months to move all their money. So we've had many that have had to fly back. But with Schwab, I think online you can probably do 100k straight away. You can fill in a form. You can probably do a larger amount. And I think they charged, if you do it online, I think it's like $15 to wire the funds to us. So it's quite good. And it works. But then we have lots of clients where they're not, they don't make payments all the time. So we help them fill in the forms. We help them liaise with, I've been on video calls with clients. I help them fill in the forms. I'll do whatever we need to do to make their life as easy as possible, really.
Well, we know this, Sarah, bless her, she's not very well this evening, so you stood in for her. She sent a message to make sure you're all right. I think we should just send her this testimonial here, and she'll be quite happy with it, I'm sure. We're very happy. Spartan FX account holders, and Ben in particular, has always been available in either immediate or short wait duration to talk or message with us to take care of our exchange needs and payment requests to third parties, providing supportive, very personal service, all with very acceptable exchange rate. We made a transfer and exchange today, in fact. Easy peasy. Thank you, Ben. And yes, Charles Schwab happened today in less than 2 hours. So that's all working beautifully, and a fantastic testimonial right there for you.
Which is great, yeah. Well, at least everyone knows I'm not lying. So that's good.
And someone else, Sloan, I've been using Schwab for the last year to make wires to Portugal without any problems at all. No wire fees, but not sure if I'm getting the best rates with Schwab, and I'll be curious to find out when I use Spartan. So Sloan, yeah, do that, and find Spartan FX, of course, in the Expats Portugal business directory. Now, you mentioned before, this not just working closely with the client, but working with the other professionals in the mix here. So we've got the dream team coming up at 9 o'clock, and you'll be known to some of those people as well, buyers agents, for example, in the dream team setup. So you're quite happy to work alongside them and make sure the money's in the right place for those transactions?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the important thing is, if a client's using us, that their money ends up where it needs to be by the deadlines they have. So we're often speaking with buyers agents, other real estate agents, the lawyers. Number one, as I said, to just purely verify the bank details, because half our clients decide not to do that. So we do that on their behalf. And then just making sure that the money is there when we need it. So yeah, we'll always liaise with them. We also keep them updated. It's quite good for, if you're purchasing a property, obviously with the client's consent, if we can let the real estate agent know that the currency's purchased, they can let the seller of the property know. And from the seller's point of view, it's probably like a weightlifted, knowing, well, I've got an international buyer. Has he got the euros? Is the money still wherever it might be in the world? It's quite good for them to know that actually the euros are now in place, and it's just a matter of the legalities happening, and the money is there. So it's quite good.
Okay, let's do a few more of those sort of bank details and nitty-gritty things. For those who don't know, Ben, what is an IBAN number, and what are the potential problems with it?
It's just an international banking number. It's not something you have in America. It's a European, basically an account number for Europe. It just states the country code, the bank code, and then how it's broken down as the account number and a couple of other parts to it, depending on which country. But yeah, look, mistakes can happen. So it's important that the IBANs are correct. Your SWIFT or BIC codes are correct. You have SWIFT codes in America as well, but you want to make sure that all the info is right. And then when we make a SWIFT payment, we've got all the tracking on the fund, so we can see at any stage where the money's at, if it's going through any intermediary banks, if it's gone direct to the bank. We know when it's with the receiving bank and when they haven't credited it to the account, or when they have, and we can see absolutely everything. So it's a really good system that we've got, and managed to help clients when they're a little bit concerned, oh, my money hasn't turned up. We give them all the documentation, and it's, again, they can see exactly where things are at any point in time.
Superb. Okay, that's IBANs. If we stay with European and Portuguese bank accounts for a moment, it can take time to open a Portuguese bank account. People are having problems, but you can act like a proxy European bank account, can't you? I mean, we've alluded to that before, but if somebody is having a problem opening up a Portuguese bank account for visa purposes or whatever, you can act as a euro holder for them. Yeah,
we can do. I mean, obviously the dream team will be able to give you more info, but I believe as long as you've got your was it your NIF number? You should be able to get a bank account, but yeah, it has been taking longer of late. And then again, we still get clients that, you know, are buying properties. They might want to buy a car if they've seen one and a friend will store it for them, or whatever the situation may be. So if you haven't got your account, we can make those payments for you.
Superb. Okay, so a few quickies then before we go to the more personal questions after the recording has concluded. Kevin asked, what is your conversion fee, dollars to euros, and then the transfer to the European bank fee? I mean, basically, what's it going to cost working with Spartan?
It can differ depending on the volumes that you're doing. It can be similar to Wise. It can be slightly different to Wise, just depending on volatility in market, volume size that's being traded. Like I said, we're more geared up. Really, it's not like we don't have like a set fee in terms of, because we work on a live market, so the fees change in essence on the volume that's being traded. So it's done on economies of scale. So depending on how much a client that's doing $1 million will get a slightly better rate than someone doing $500,000 and so on. But in essence, it's very competitive, and the rates you'll get will always be better in your bank.
That's what we've heard from people here already tonight, haven't they? They're happy with the rates, and perhaps what Kevin can do, if you know, some people are more concerned, aren't they, with doing a lot of comparisons. For some, if that is Kevin, presumably he can just say, look, I want to do this trade. What have you got? And
yeah, 100%. Yeah, look, once anyone is registered, they can call us up. They can say, I need to do X amount. What's the live rate? I want to buy it now. We'll give them our best rate, and then it's up to them as to what they'd like to do. But we'll always try and help someone to be as competitive as we can and move their money in a safe and secure way.
Superb. Couple more then. When funds are kept in Britain, I hope that was okay for you, Kevin. Just let us know if you need to know more. And of course, you can ask more questions after the recording's over. James is asking, when funds are kept in Britain, what financial/tax regulations and requirements are US citizens / Portuguese residents required to deal with? That's interesting, isn't it? So yes, are you classed as kind of, how does that work?
Firstly, I'm not a tax advisor. Fact number one, but I have been advised by international tax specialists that the accounts that we have for clients, you should report on your like FBAR reporting for our US clients, because in America it doesn't matter whether you've emigrated. If you were born in the country, you still have to do tax returns all the time in America. So you should provide the account details, the flow of funds that have gone through it. It does no harm in stating the accounts you have with us. Most clients aren't leaving funds in the account for years on end. So it's just a kind of intermediary thing where it's the flow of funds are coming through us to end up in your Portuguese bank. But if you've got the account for that year, or you're using it year on year with us, you can report it if you're moving funds through. I would always recommend that you do report it, and we can provide you any statements that you need for it. In the UK side, I would recommend that you speak to obviously if you're emigrating, the rules are different. If you've emigrated from the UK and you've moved full time to Portugal, whatever your tax implications are in England are very different to what it might be in America. So I'd recommend just speak to a tax advisor.
Okay, so you're not a tax advisor. You recommend talking to a tax advisor. James is specific, or there's more to this question. What does Britain require? Would a US citizen need to report anything to the British authorities about the money?
No, not that I've ever been made aware.
Okay,
no.
There you go. So it's more a matter of your domestic situation, where you are a tax resident, and I guess once a tax resident of the US, always a tax resident of the US. And of course,
very much so, from what I believe.
Yes, indeed. Okay, I hope that helps, James. Of course, you'll get a chance to ask more in just a moment if you wish to. Last one then from Brian for the time being. Is Spartan FX classed as a UK bank account? For example, if I set up a fixed rate bond that requires a UK bank account to receive the interest payments, can they be received by my Spartan FX account?
So if you've got a fixed rate bond for your interest, I've never had it. So Spartan FX is not a bank, but the accounts that we provide for you, basically the way it works with us, every currency broker has their classes like virtual currency accounts. So we can provide any currency, like any of the main global currencies, but they all are held with us with Barclays Bank. So they're safeguarded by Barclays. If your interest from your bond could be paid directly into it. I see no reason why not, but I've never had anyone try it. I would probably recommend it'd probably just be easier to have your interest paid, because I think on a bond, I think you get your interest a couple of times a year. So you might be better off just moving it into your own bank account if you have it, and then to us. But we could try it.
All right. Sorry, a quick question has come in, which is quite an interesting one. And I always push you down on a crystal ball question. They're always like sort of classic things, aren't there, that we discuss? Something new will come up, like Brian's question there. And of course, the crystal ball aspect. How, I wonder, are you going to cope with this last question from Connie? Ben, how would a US government shutdown affect exchange rates, do you think?
Well, let's not even think about it.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. Well, put it this way. This week alone, I've had so many clients seriously worried about it. You would imagine it wouldn't be good for the dollar. It's like when it's the same thing as whenever you get to like the debt ceiling in America, the can is pushed down the road. It's always resolved. It's a bit volatile beforehand, but they're never really going to let the US government default, are they? It would be catastrophic. And I could only but imagine this would be similar, but who knows what world
That's a manful
in.
effort. Thank you very much. Without giving advice or making a prediction, some wise words from you there, Ben. You can find Spartan FX. Find the way to get your free account and get that opened up sooner rather than later, as Ben was saying before. It's never too early to do it, but it obviously can be too late if you leave it too late. Don't be that person who leaves it too late. Get yourself the account via the Expats Portugal Business Directory. Any last words from you, Ben? Great job tonight. Thank you.
No, just look, myself and the team, we're always here to try and help anyone who, even if you've got, even if you haven't used us and you're having issues with something else to do with moving money, you're always welcome to contact us. We'll always try and help wherever we can. But if, anyone's looking for that kind of personal service, help you move funds safely, securely, make sure money's always arriving when it should do, there's very few errors that tend to ever happen, just because we understand what our clients want and need from us. So we're always here to help, and if that's the service anyone's looking for, we'd be delighted to help.
Fantastic. Brian saying Spartan FX has been the only smooth part of my process. That's nice to know, isn't it? And do give our best regards to a very understanding Mrs. Amrani as well, who we know is very forgiving of people who call you at all hours of the day and night. And you the answer. So send her our best regards as well.
I will.
Cheers, Ben. Thank you very much. Great job.
Thank you.